Cass, thank you for being here. So how's the weather today?
I'm really glad to be here to be able to give my experiences.
Well, tell me a little bit about those experiences with homelessness.
I suppose they consider being in a shelter homeless. I'd never really thought of it that way until today. I was really lucky to be able to access my shelter experience in Orangeville, not in the Hamilton community, and it was a brand new shelter at the time. My daughter and myself were only there for a short period, but at the time I was transitioning to university in St. Catharines, and so one of the things that I really found lacking was that I was moving out of one community into another and there was no connection between the two of them, so that I was sort of going from a supportive shelter experience into, although I'm on ODSP and I was able to find housing, there was really no supports around the experience that I'd had with domestic violence. And so I was sort of in a vacuum all of a sudden, not knowing anything about how to find therapy for myself and my daughter. And that experience just sort of dropped off for a number of years until I moved to Hamilton about 3 years ago.
And how did things change for you when you got to Hamilton?
The housing that I found here was not adequate. My daughter and myself were in a one-bedroom apartment. She was in the first grade, so it was very close quarters, but that was what I could afford at the time. And I ended up in a situation where my landlord was not responsible. I even attempted to bring in bylaw officers to enforce the fixing of the apartment that we were in, and unfortunately it was a she said, he said sort of situation, and they kept trying to say they had to give her the benefit of the doubt, whereas I was the one with black mold in my bathroom, the ceiling falling in on the shower, not able to bathe my child there, having to go to friends' houses to carry on my normal daily life. So the system really failed me at that point, and I then moved into another awful situation with similar experiences. There were bed bugs in the unit and the landlord took no responsibility for that. I ended up, after 2 months, I ended up walking away from almost everything I owned except for personal belongings like that I couldn't replace easily, but all my furniture, all my daughter's toys, family heirlooms that I couldn't afford to get cleaned on my own because the landlord just didn't care and there was really nobody to help me. So at this point I was really, really lucky to actually get in touch with the Good Shepherd organization, and I'm currently in VAW housing through them, and I've been there for just about a year, and it is the most enriching experience of my life to feel like I have stable, supportive housing, to know that I'm not going to be looking for new housing in a couple months, to know that if anything goes wrong, I have landlords who are going to be responsible and take care of any problems that arise, to know that my daughter's not going to have to move schools again. And the really wonderful thing that she says, because she's almost 9 now and she's lived in many places in her life, that short period of time, I think at least one a year, and she's not going to have to switch schools, and she calls this her forever home. Wow. And that is the most heartbreaking, beautiful thing to have her say. The wonderful piece about it for me is that now that I'm not so busy worrying about just the average parts of my life, where am I going to put my head at night, I've started to work on a community project called 1 in 4. We're a website of survivors for survivors to deal with domestic violence. So we're looking at being that gap between women and the services available.
That's amazing.
So just by having stable housing, I've been able to look at giving back to the community rather than being caught in my own small tornado world of where is stability, what is stability.
Wow, it's an amazing story, Cass. And congratulations on the project that you're doing. That's awesome. Thanks for being here and sharing how's the weather with us today.